Hello everyone, welcome to a special edition of the Royal Blue podcast as I'm joined by former Everton part owner Paul Gregg. You okay, Paul?
I'm okay, thanks. Good to be here. Thank you.
Thank you for coming into our studio and joining us. Paul's new book, Backstage Without A Pass, is out now and includes 5 chapters on his eventful time at Goodison Park. So there's plenty of interest there for Blues. I was just ask you, firstly, Paul, obviously you've got a great backstory there and such an eventful life. Why now?
Why now? Why now write the book?
Yeah.
I don't know. My wife said to me, when she sees what's gone on, she said, you just got to put it down to a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And so we started on it about 2 years ago, and we ended up with the book, as you can see now. And so far, most people seem to enjoy the read, which is good,
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously, a lot of it, the Everton section, is about your, if I can use the word, at times tumultuous relationship with Bill Kenwright. There were good times and there were tougher times. And, I mean, you're at pains in the book to say that, obviously he comes under scrutiny there, but, he's not there to defend himself anymore. So you're very careful in the way that you choose your words in that respect and with Bill and obviously your relationship with him.
Yeah, I mean, look, we had a long relationship when we owned the theatres.
Yeah.
And when he bought Everton, I rang him up to congratulate him and say, well done. And then 3 weeks later, he rang me back and said, do you want a piece of it?
Yeah.
And I said, well, whatever you're having, we'll have it. And we ended up taking like 25%.
Yes.
But we got locked into True Blue, which was the wrong thing, really. We should have kept our shares in the club because True Blue gave Bill all the power.
Yeah.
And I think in fairness, that's what he always wanted. But at the same time, I think he was a great Evertonian.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to look at it.
Yeah.
He lived and breathed the club. I think, sadly, in his chairmanship role, he lost the plot.
Right.
And the club hasn't moved forward, really, when you think about it,
Yeah. I mean, obviously, like you say, you put the same amount that he put in when you came to the club. Was it $7.5 million a piece there? But like you say, the way it was structured with the other directors who were always going to back him, that was put it a tough situation for yourself, even though you put in as much as he did.
I think that was my mistake. I should have evaluated what True Blue was, because True Blue became the controlling shareholder in the company.
Yeah.
But Bill had power in True Blue, so that was the end of the conversation. Apart from the fact that, I took a simple view. You look after the team and the results, and we look after how we can develop the brand and the club. Yeah. Which is where we went down the road with the King's Dock.
Yeah. Was it a tough decision for you to make, given that you didn't necessarily have a football background? You've done so much stuff together in the theatre and the entertainment world, but it was kind of a new venture for yourself.
It was a huge learning curve.
Yeah.
Because, look, in a way, it's a piece of entertainment in what he was doing. It just has 50,000 fans want to see it and more. And I think one of the things that we learned very quickly was, what the fans felt about Liverpool and the Everton team.
Yeah.
And being an Evertonian was a new learning curve for me completely.
Yeah. I mean, what did you find then in terms of that then, in terms of the passion, the intensity?
I think the passion and the intensity, I think that was a big thing. I mean, when we were struggling in those first couple of years, we used to get letters from wives saying, my old man's getting up at 2:30 in the morning, he can't sleep, he's driving me mad, will you sort this club out? And
like today.
He's a joiner and he can't work, he can't earn his money, he's worried about what's happening at Everton,
Yeah.
And I think that's probably the whole case all over again at the moment, that everybody's worrying what is happening with the club.
Of course, yeah. And those times that you said that it was struggles both on and on the pitch in that respect. But the hope was that King's Dock, as you said, would be a game changer for the whole club, and it was something you were very much behind.
We spent 3 years working with the City and with Liverpool Vision, and it was a fantastic opportunity. And when we were successful in winning the bid, that was a huge achievement, because it would have put Everton where Spurs are today, because it was designed by the same architects. Yeah. But, we designed it as an entertainment destination, which is what the council wanted at the time. Because they wanted to do the stadium for City of Culture.
Yeah.
And so we designed it so the pitch rolled out, the roof closed. We could put Madonna on today and we could play Arsenal tomorrow. And that was just, would have been a game changer for Everton in every which way.
Yeah, I mean, if I take a quote actually from the book, from yourself, you said, be able to grab the attention from Manchester by pulling in all the biggest acts. Instead of playing 3 nights in Manchester, the biggest stars in the world will reach the same audience in a single night at King's Dock. I mean, it really would have been something special in that respect for the city as well as the team.
For the city as well. I think that was the point, that we'd have had a huge influence in the city as a destination.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, as I said to Bill, I said, imagine Madonna or Rod Stewart walking off stage with his Everton scarf and hat and saying goodbye. I said the brand would just become a worldwide brand.
Yeah, and obviously that never happened. I mean, you've discussed this so far. Anyway, it's both in the book and you've been talking about this. I mean, ultimately it came down to the fact that Bill didn't like the fact that he saw that they wouldn't be owning the stadium in his eyes, but you differed over this and how it would work.
Well, you know, the way we'd structured it, we owned half the company with the city.
Yeah.
And the city wanted us to take a 125-year lease. And when Bill wouldn't take the secondary loan of £30 million towards the stadium, the city said they would find the money with the government and they would complete the stadium and we would lease it, which would have been fine. And we had a 125-year lease to play football. So, you know, that was virtual freehold.
Yeah, yeah. And with an option to extend when the time came as well. Just how frustrating was that for you? You put in all that hard work and then moved to turn around and say, well, no.
I felt like we'd been relegated.
Yeah.
Which I think was, you know, everybody's feeling we'd lost. We don't like losing. And the thing was, it would have been a great scheme. It would have sat here in the city centre on the dockside. Everybody would have had to pass it.
Yeah. Everybody
would know that Everton's home was there.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose it's putting 2 and 2 together and getting 5. But one thing that the fans have commented on this one is the fact that, obviously, a few years later, the likes of Sheikh Mansour came around to Manchester City. He was looking for a team of that ilk. And there's been talk that the fact that City had a ready-made stadium helped him end up there. I mean, I know it's only speculation, but like you said, if that had been in place 15, 20 years ago, perhaps Everton would have been a more enticing proposition for somebody like that.
Well, I think it would have been. First of all, we'd had another 20,000 spaces for fans to go and watch the game.
Yeah.
And the revenue that fell out of that situation. And then, of course, you know, it would have meant that the whole city and what Everton were doing in the city would be a huge impact.
Yeah, yeah. Just in terms of all your achievements and all that you have done, just how hurtful is that now, even like 2 decades on, as a missed opportunity for you?
Well, I think it was a missed opportunity. And when I went to see the new stadium about 2 months ago, I was very impressed with the new stadium. I think it's going to be great for Everton.
Yeah.
It's not quite what we offered in the King's Dock, but it can still stage several major concerts. And we've been talking to the club about a couple of ideas for opening the stadium next summer. But, you know, whether we can get there or not, who knows?
Yeah. I mean, we'll come on to that. But at your time at the club, you were looking at a lot of other business opportunities and other commercial activities, and that included a couple of interesting trips to the Far East for you. I mean, I remember reading the bit when you were talking about Kazan when you went with Sir Philip Carter to do that particular deal. I mean, that was a bit of an eye opener for you, wasn't it?
It was. It was an amazing occasion there. I arrived in Beijing in the morning, went to a meeting with Kazan and with Philip.
Yeah.
And they had organised a lunch, and then we're talking about it. And we're talking about Lee Tai coming to play for Everton, which at the time David Moyes wasn't madly happy about.
Yeah.
But you know, the thing was the telephone company was a telephone being sold in China.
Yeah.
And they wanted a Chinese audience to watch Everton play in China.
Yeah.
And on the back of that, they would sell the phone. So effectively, you know, when we did play and we were on TV in China, they could attract 90 million viewers.
Yeah.
So that was a real thing.
Yeah.
And of course, Lee Tai was important to them. to be playing for Everton on those matches. So I used to say to David Moyes, look, if we're winning 3-0, put him on for... don't worry about it kind of thing,
Incredible, really, that, like you say, they weren't even going to have their product in the West, but they just wanted that exposure back in Asia.
That's correct,
yeah. And then obviously he went over to Thailand as well, and ended up striking what proved to be the longest-running sponsorship deal in the club's history. Chang, it lasted, was it 13 years, something like
13 years, yeah. And look, I know they were they were attracted by the money from stake.
Yeah.
But in hindsight, I think they'd have been better keeping the relationship with Chang.
Yeah.
Because Chang are a multi-billion-pound company. And they were very fond of Everton. They did a lot of work in Thailand with Everton, with youth training and children's, all those other things that go with it. And I think it was sad that, they lost the relationship.
Yeah. I mean, when you first went over there, I mean, it was Thaksin Shinawatra who you met, and he actually put you through to Chang, because you weren't too sure how it was going to pan out at first. Was that right?
We knew he was sniffing around Liverpool at the time, and we went out a bit speculatively to see him.
Yeah,
and we took a Rooney signed photo.
Okay,
and we're meeting with the sports minister, and he gets a call to say, we're going to meet him in this hotel. So we all dashed off to the hotel, and he arrived.
Yeah.
He came in, we had a good conversation. I gave him the Rooney picture, and of course, nothing happened. He didn't come by us. He ended up by Manchester City, which is another story.
Yeah. Yeah, and just going on to football matters for a little while, if I just go back a touch here, I mean, one thing in the book you talk about is when Walter Smith was the manager of Everton, you felt that it was too much of a friendship and not necessarily a business relationship that Bill had with him, and that proved troublesome towards the end.
I think the problem is, when you're the chairman of a football club and you've got a manager, you have to have a relationship which is a business relationship.
Yeah.
And I think with Bill and Walter, it became maybe too friendly.
Yeah.
And I think that when Walter was struggling with the team and he had to go, it was very hard for Bill to deal with that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and then when David Moyes came in, I mean, that one almost didn't get down. I remember you telling a story in the book there. Well, they haggling over, was it like 100,000 with Preston in the end, and then you said just pay it in the end. Was that frustrating? That given that the amount, like you said, that you spend on players, agents, that's one thing you obviously mentioned in the book. You're not happy about that, but then they end up haggling over what is, in football terms, I guess, loose change for the new manager.
Yeah, I think that was a bit like that.
Yeah,
we're also in a hotel in Haydock Park arguing the toss with press and people and that. And we've been there for like 3 hours and that, and in the end, for God's sake, Bill, give him the $100,000 and let's get on with it. You know, that's the point. We want it, let's do it,
Yeah.
And we did, of course, and he came, and overall he had a good run here, didn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, that's one thing that you do mention. You weren't too keen after that poor season, obviously, that they had when they were 17th, and you were sounding out Martin O'Neill at the time. I mean, what was your feeling of that? As you said, obviously, in retrospect now, you're giving Moyes the credit there for what he did at Everton, but what was the feeling back then when you were having a look at Martin O'Neill?
Well, I think, we were desperately short of cash.
Yeah.
Rooney was going.
Yeah.
And I said to Bill, maybe Martin O'Neill might come. I said, I think the fans would like to see him. I think that would increase our season ticket sales. I think, who's to say he couldn't persuade Rooney to stay or not? I don't know. But Bill didn't want any of that,
No.
And if I remember rightly, the top second and third teams in the Premier League had just fired their managers as well.
Okay, right.
So I said to him, he said, you can't fire him after 2 years. I said, well, look, two other teams have fired their managers.
Yeah.
I said, I think Martin O'Neill would generate cash in the box office. And we needed cash.
Yeah. I mean, it was a tumultuous summer because was that this summer Trevor Birch came and went. That's as well.
Right. Well, Trevor was a great guy, you know, and he would have helped us turn the club round then if Bill had have let him.
Just the 6 weeks.
6 weeks.
He obviously didn't like what he saw there, or the way he found things were going at Everton. I mean, it's incredible, like you say, just the 6 weeks there. I mean, what do you think was the problem for Trevor then?
Well, he wanted to bring Martin O'Neill in.
Yeah.
Because again, he supported my view that we would sell more season tickets.
Yeah.
At that time, I'm not saying it would be something today.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think, we've got to take a view that Sean has done a great job over the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Despite all the frustrations around him.
Yeah.
He's done an amazing job.
Yeah, definitely. And obviously it was also the summer that Wayne Rooney went, and there's quite a significant section in the book where you're talking about Wayne, and you feel that the club perhaps let him down. Obviously, with off the field matters as well. I mean, it was a tough time, really.
Well, I think it was a boardroom discussion about taking care of young players.
Yeah,
and I think that Wayne had I can't think. A Duncan Ferguson by the side of him, there's no way he would have got himself into trouble, because I think he would have been protecting Wayne and the club's reputation.
Yeah. I mean, as you said, obviously, it's about 17 years now since you departed the club. Are you sad to see that the way that things have panned out at Everton, and like you said, those same problems that were occurring a couple of decades ago were even greater now?
Yeah, I think, look, maybe people won't agree with me, but I think the current owner's had a tough time.
Yeah.
He did a deal in what he thought was the best interest of the club. Mm-hmm. He committed to build a stadium, which is a £700 million project. Mm-hmm. In a way, he must be as sick as every Evertonian, in that they haven't delivered the money.
Yeah.
They've let him down. He's let the fans down. He's let himself down, and I'm sure he feels, really fed up.
Yeah, I mean, just what are your thoughts on the current position? Like I said, it's dragged on for 8 months now with 777, and it looks like it is coming to a head.
If you read all the media today, effectively 777 can't deliver.
Yeah.
And that's sad. How quickly they will find another buyer, I don't know. But look, with the new stadium completed, and a sale opportunity to run the club for the next sort of few years, I think he's got a great chance as Everton to rebuild itself. Yeah,
you think that, as a businessman yourself, then it's actually a great proposition for somebody with the right vision?
I think there are one or two brands that you could talk to that would be really interested.
Yeah.
I think it would be great if Chang came back. I think they would be a great partner again for Everton.
Yeah, really something on those lines. I mean, just how frustrating was it, Void, of the ideas that you wanted to implement, that you couldn't necessarily always get them over the line? And do you think that's a problem that continues with the club?
I think if you look, it's not maybe very fair to talk about Bill passed away, but the point is, when you look at the club, what's changed in 20 years? Yeah. Like you said, the same problems we're having, Same problems we had when we bought the bloody club. That it was tight on money and cash and things like that. And and look at where it is today. It's 700 million. You're talking about $500 million for somebody to sort it out now. Yeah. And one of the big issues for Bill was he never had that personal wealth himself in terms of a Premier League level. So he's brought Farhad Moshiri in as the billionaire, supposedly, to save the club. And like you say, it just hasn't worked out. Well, the point is, when Moshiri came in, Bill must have benefited financially because he was a shareholder. Yeah. So whatever was agreed between them when he took over the club, Bill must have benefited from. But I think the point is, the Ukraine war hasn't helped because he stopped the Russian money flowing in, and I think that that all those things have just added to the position where they are today. Yeah. But I think actually maybe if Moshiri held his breath and changed his management views on the club, I think then maybe the club could move forward. Yeah. Even in an interim basis. Right. So how would you change that then? What do you think he should do in that respect? What he hasn't been doing? Well, I think he's got to say goodbye to 777. Yeah. The fans don't want him. Mm-hmm. They've been sued across the world for various things. So the bad news is they can't deliver the money. So the answer is goodbye. I can't see he's got a conversation on that, Yeah, and in the meantime,
sort of look after things himself. Well, if he's able to, I guess, if he's still.
Well, I think the point is,
Yeah.
When you go to the new stadium and you look around and you talk to people, you just see an amazing opportunity.
Yeah.
And I think that with a little bit of simple management changes and a deep breath, then Everton could be a new brand again.
Yeah, and you've talked about that already. You've been down to the stadium, and there are potential opportunities for when it opens. I mean, are you able to elaborate at all in that respect?
Well, I think the point is, the stadium is supposed to be ready by Christmas.
Yeah.
The current management have told us they don't really want to open the stadium until the first game of the September season, 225. My view is that next summer, summer of 225, is when the stadium should open with this live entertainment.
Yeah.
And there should be a series of concerts there next summer.
Yeah.
And we should establish that this is a total sports and entertainment destination.
Yeah.
And I think we've talked to somebody who will be very special in Liverpool.
Yeah.
To come next year.
Okay.
But we haven't got any approval yet.
Okay. Yeah, but I guess that's going to be one of the big things. It become like a 365-day-a-year venue compared to, obviously, Goodison Park's going to have a lot more corporate seats. It's going to be better for the fans, but like you say, just to utilise that stadium in other ways as well. Yeah,
and I think the other good news is the space outside the stadium. Mm-hmm. The concourse can accommodate 25,000 people for a concert.
Yeah.
So you could use that again next summer.
Yeah.
And you could put Christmas events there, autumn events. You could run that whole space outside the stadium.
Yeah, yeah. Obviously, there were a great amount of frustration in the way things went for you at Everton. But what positives, what points do you look back on and think, yeah, I enjoyed those at my time? Because obviously there's a lot of passion there.
Yeah, look, I enjoyed it. I mean, It was a challenge. We enjoyed doing the Kingsdown Stadium scheme and all the work that went into that. That was good. I think learning about what football fans really want was important as well.
Yeah.
And I think learning what Evertonians believe and they want. I think they've had a rough ride.
Yeah, yeah. And just finally then from myself, you spoke about how you still got great respect for the Evertonians. I mean, what are your overall thoughts on them and as a fan base and as a group of people? What do you take from your time from the club in that respect?
The Premier League made a statement when they were fighting the points.
Yeah.
That they were a small club.
Yeah.
I don't think they realised it's a massive club.
Yeah.
Massive fan base. And I think that, people just need to understand what the brand is.
Yeah.
What Evertonians mean, what's in the heart,
Yeah.
And I think with a little bit of work, he could really become very strong again.
Yeah.
And I think, look, given Sean Joyce, given Sean's position, if he's there next year, why couldn't they be in the top 10?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Paul Gregg.